Good day. This is our PowerPoint presentation for JLD 220. We are group 16 and our theme is child abuse. In our group, we have Lindray Engelbrecht, Sianda Kenga, Gonse Kagale, Zanele Nkomo, Ledile Mogano. This is our index. Cover page is on slide 1. Index is on slide 2. Summary, slide 3. Description, background, slide 4. Explain how the issues may impact young learners, slide 5. Describe the role of the teacher, slide 6. Description of the resources that are available, slide 7. Allocation, slide 8. And references, slide 9. Summary. Our theme is child abuse. We will discuss the following in our presentation: a description or background to the issues associated with the topic we will be discussing, how the issues may impact young learners, what the barrier to learning may be, and what effect it may have on the participation of the learner in the classroom, the role of the teacher in supporting learners to improve learner performance so that the learner's full potential is achieved, a description of the resources that are available within the community to assist the learner with this barrier to learning.
Child abuse is defined as any physical, sexual, or psychological maltreatment or neglect of a child that is usually performed by a parent or a caregiver. Child abuse is known to have a lengthy history as children have been subject to abuse by parents or other adults since the beginning of time. In the early 1870s, news about child abuse captured the nation's attention as many children in that time were physically abused by their parents or the foster homes they lived in. To date, children are still being abused in many ways, and child abuse is still the cause of many deaths of children. There are many forms of child abuse which include neglect, physical abuse, sexual abuse, exploitation, and emotional abuse. Physical abuse. Physical abuse of a child is when a parent or a caregiver causes any non-accidental physical harm to a child that results in the harm of the child's health, development, dignity, and survival. This includes hitting, strangling, kicking, biting, or poisoning the child. Physical abuse can then result in emotional and psychological harm, internal injuries and brain damage, lifelong injury, and even death. Sexual abuse. Sexual abuse is when an adult uses a child for sexual purposes or involves the child in a sexual act. This type of abuse includes making a child view a sexual act, making a child view or show sex organs, when adults penetrate the child, and when the child is forced into prostitution or child pornography. Emotional abuse. This type of abuse occurs when a parent or a caregiver harms a child's mental and social development or causes severe harm. Emotional abuse includes telling a child that they are unloved and unwanted, when parents show little interest in their children, when parents are not open to listening to the child, constantly shaming and humiliating the child, taking advantage of the child's weaknesses, yelling and constantly criticizing the child. Child neglect. This type of abuse happens when a parent or a caregiver does not give the necessary care, affection, supervision, and support needed for the child's health, well-being, and safety. Child neglect usually includes educational neglect, emotional neglect, medical neglect, and physical neglect. The school and the government can, however, take action in preventing child abuse from occurring by involving teachers, social workers, or psychologists to provide support for both parents and learners by providing short courses or parental guidance to help parents understand how they should take care of their children, by providing family therapy, therapeutic support for abused children, and preventative strategies. Teachers also need to be able to identify learners that are experiencing abuse at home or in the community and refer such learners and their parents to specialists so that they can receive the assistance and support that is needed.
Explain how the issues impact young learners, what barriers to learning may be, and what effect it may have on the participation of the learner in the classroom. For children or young learners who have encountered abuse or neglect, the effects can be unpredictable and durable. The emotional and psychological impacts of abuse can be crushing and proceed to impact each part of a child's life. Child abuse and neglect can influence all domains of development: physical, psychological, emotional, behavioral, and social, which are all interrelated. Physical abuse impacts students since it causes them physical torment and wounds. It affects their mental health, their psychological capacities, especially in the regions of self-guideline, speech, and language. Psychological abuse negatively affects children because it brings deep-rooted ramification for a child's emotional well-being. Problems such as post-traumatic stress disorder, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. Social abuse impacts children because it brings about social challenges since children are bound to frame unreliable connections with individuals and can affect on a child's capacity to trust and speak with others and structure solid connection for an incredible duration. Behavioral abuse can prompt behavioral issues in childhood and all through immaturity. Research shows that about 80% of children who have encountered abuse have a propensity towards disguising practices. For example, being pitiful and pulled back, or externalizing practices, being forceful or hyperactive in childhood. Research again shows that 90% of children who have encountered abuse battle more at school and have revealed difficulty paying attention and delayed speech and language development. Child participation in class is decidedly identified with academic accomplishment. Children fail to partake in class exercises because of abuse. They find it hard to contemplate or react to the teacher's questions or show other participatory conduct. Child abuse can impact children presentation of abilities, for example, commitment in academic tasks and focusing in classroom. These practices and challenges are probably going to be shown in school issues related to classroom underachievement, battling with peers, and oppositional rebellion towards teachers. The encounters of abused students have prompted loss of focus in class. These outcomes in students being left behind in their schoolwork and poor classroom participation. Abused students neglect to gather in class because of the encounters of abuse. They get low scores in tests, exam, and classwork.
The teacher's role in supporting the learner to improve learner performance so that the learner's full potential is achieved. Identifying, reporting, and preventing child abuse is the most important role of a teacher. Whenever the teacher notices the signs of any form of child abuse, reporting the matter is the first step towards protecting the child. However, the result of child abuse can cause the performance of the learner to drop in school. Victims of child abuse may be affected by this in many ways. Their abilities and mental health will be affected. Therefore, the teacher needs to pay extra attention to the child's needs in order to support the learner. Victims of child abuse are more likely to do badly at school as they face cognitive delays. The teacher can help support the child by creating more cooperative activities in the class to get the child involved in activities with his or her peers. This will remove the feelings of worthlessness or clear the negative self-image. Creating a classroom environment where learners can interact with their peers will support the learner. Furthermore, educators should be mindful of instances when classmates may have heard about the abuse or subsequent actions. These classmates may also ask questions or need support and reassurance. The teacher can provide mentoring and tutoring programs such as Big Sisters or Big Brothers. Professional and non-professional tutors can be provided to the learners who are struggling. They will support the learner until they are able to do their own work. The teacher can also provide in-class programming. This means that the teacher should not send away the child who is struggling or performing poor. Instead, the teacher needs to look for ways to identify the area in which the child is struggling at and provide support to the learner. The teacher needs to pay attention to the child's needs in the classroom and find ways to address those needs. The teacher can involve the parents or caregivers, school social workers, and school counselors in order to help the child to deal with issues such as depression and aggression. The teacher can encourage the child to join extracurricular activities at school such as sports, debate, and choir. The child will build self-confidence and experience a sense of achievement and accomplishment. According to Mallet, it has been found that when the school creates learning projects or activities for maximum cooperation, reducing balance on competitive activities, peer mediation, and conflict resolution, and an emphasis on effective problem solving helps reduce the threatening behavior and benefits abused and neglected children. Classroom teacher can find creative ways to design learning activities in which the child can show their emotions. The teacher can tell the learners to draw their face and show how they are feeling at that moment. Individual learner support. The teacher can make extra time to teach the learner individually. This can be provided by the teacher with the help of the school-based support team. The teacher needs to identify areas in which the child is struggling and carefully select the content to focus on when helping the learner and check if the outcomes have been reached.
Child abuse has been identified as a barrier to learning. Learners who have been abused find it difficult to learn in the classrooms. They do not develop at the same pace with other learners in the classrooms. There are resources that are available within the communities to assist learners with this barrier to learning. The first example of those resources is crisis centers and hotlines. Crisis centers and hotlines offer emergency counseling and referral to other community resources such as social workers and psychologists. The second example is social workers and healthcare professionals. These are immediate sources of support in the community and offer specialized help to children that have been abused. The third example is child abuse education. Child abuse education must be provided to every person in the community because people need to learn and understand the consequences of child abuse so that they can stop practicing it. And the fourth example is school activities supporting abused children. These are the activities that can be found in the curriculum and sometimes not in the curriculum. Teachers must provide learners with activities that will make them feel safe and loved. They must play a supportive and a caring role. The fifth example is child abuse and neglect multidisciplinary teams. These are the teams inside and outside the school. They offer broad range resources and services, skills and programs to help children overcome child abuse. These services can include helping police find the perpetrators of child abuse, offering counseling to children who have been abused, and other services. And the sixth example is community-based and school-based programs for children. These are programs that help develop children's skills. They help them boost self-esteem. They help them with conflict management skills, communication and problem-solving skills, and other necessary skills that will help them overcome child abuse and develop and learn at a normal pace.
Allocation. Provide a description background to the issues associated with the topic you will be discussing. Zianda, explain how the issues may impact young learners, what the barrier to learning may be, and what effect it may have on the participation of the learner in the classroom. Hornsey, describe what the role of the teacher is in supporting the learner to improve learner performance so that the learner's full potential is achieved. Zanele, include a description of the resources that are available within the community to assist the learner with this barrier to learning. Ledile, narrated PowerPoint presentation. Linrai, voiceovers, everyone. Submission, Linrai, and references, everyone.